Hey guys, winter is well and truly here in the UK. We've just hit October and it is wet outside. It's raining. It feels like it's wet and raining every single day. If it's not raining, it's very windy, which is really limiting my flying at the moment. I only normally get to go at the weekends anyway, especially this time of year when it's dark in the evenings. So I thought I want to carry on flying throughout winter regardless. Obviously I'll go to the field if it's nice enough, but that's probably only going to be once or twice in the next couple of months. So what else can I do? I go indoor flying, and that's exactly what we're going to do in this video. I'm going to go build a model, which I'll come on to shortly. I'm going to find a hall which is suitable, and then we're going to go and fly the plane in the hall with a bunch of friends as well, so we get to see what it's actually like flying indoors where there's no wind and there's walls and there's ceilings and stuff you can hit. But I'm sure it'll be fine. So join me, that's what we're doing. So let's start off with the model. So I was at Southern Model Air Show earlier on this year, and at air shows I go to, I always have a quick look around the bring and buy if they've got one, just in case there's something there that I fancy, having a bit of a play with, something different. And there's this Horizons 37-inch Mighty Edge, plug and play, ready to go. And apparently it's an untouched kit according to this. Includes motor, ESC, props and servos, unstarted kit, the main bag's been opened to check contents, but appears to be complete. And the offer price was £100 on that. However, I offered 80 and I got it, and I thought that's a good deal for 80. So this is the model we're going to be unboxing, building and taking flying. And again, I've not built one of these either, so I'll show you that process as we go along. Guys, got the model unboxed. It looks like everything's there. There's a lot of parts to go together, a lot of carbon to go in this for strength. But let me give you a close-up of all the bits and pieces and then we'll crack on. Okay, so where should we start? Let's start off with the hardware. So we've got a 20 amp ESC from T-Motor, a prop mount there as well, and this motor is the AM40 for 3D or 4D, and it's absolutely tiny. Look at the size of that on my hand. Really interesting to see how well that performs. We've got all our servos, as I said earlier. Emax, never seen these before, never used them, but happy to give them a try as they're all included. Lots and lots of different lengths of carbon, which is all nicely labelled up. Lengths, widths, sizes, shapes, you've got it, it's there. The three propellers we saw earlier on. Some SFGs and wing fences and spats by the looks of it over here. That would be for the front, where the engine gets mounted. And then of course we've got the fuselage section here, which is really nicely printed. Not sure how thick that is. I think it's about 10 mil. I will check that. But obviously very weak or very wobbly at the moment because it's got no strength in there. There's no carbon pieces in there and the cross section is not on. Talking of which, this looks like another cross section to go in. They provide a QR code so you can get the latest instructions, or there is a printed set in there, but I'll just check that they are the latest. And then another part of hardware pack here, different horns, stiffener piece. Not sure what they are at the moment. They look like wheels, just two pieces of foam. Obviously this is an indoor model, a couple of straps. Then all these pieces here, that looks like they just push out. So it looks good, it's impressive. Wasn't really sure what to expect, so I've not built something like this before. But I think I'm going to go and have a look at the instructions, then make a start. I'm not going to film every single step of this build, but I will show you various bits along the way, because I'm keen just we get on and get it flying. So pretty much the first step in this build is a little bit odd, and that is you have to bend all control surfaces back on themselves and leave them for a couple of hours to loosen them up, and it's just an odd feeling. I think that's the horizontal stabilizer, this is the elevator, but you've got to bend it all the way over like that. It feels like it's going to snap. It's not, it's fine. Put some weight on it and apparently that loosens up the hinge joint. So just a little bit, just not done that before, feels odd. So I'm going to do that on all of them, leave them, again the wing, don't know why I'm going slow, but it should be fine. And get some weight on it. And also the rudder, and then we'll be able to carry on. So the first step is to get these carbon rods into the wing and the horizontal stabilizer. It's just a case of they're already cut the right size, just pick the right one out. Quite obvious which one the wing is, it's the longest one, and put them in the pre-done slot for you. So you glue the rod both sides first and you push it in, but when you're pushing it in, be careful you don't get your finger stuck to the rod and the printed material. Now it's pretty obvious to be careful, but if you do get your finger stuck, you're going to pull off the colour off the print, which is why I mention it. It does also mention that in the instructions. I actually made that small mistake here, because I put some kicker on it. It dried quicker than I thought and just pulled off a bit of print there. But apart from that, that was super easy, and they're tucked in nicely. That's already stiffened up the wing and the stab. So next up, we've just extended the wing by adding the front of the fuselage section on it, just a case of gluing it, holding it together. I put a little bit of tinfoil underneath. I didn't have any baking paper to try. Just tinfoil is just going to stop it gluing to my bench in case the glue seeps through, and should do the same job. And then it's the same process for the other half of the fuselage. Make sure these pieces are the right way up. Guys, I mean, I'm stating obvious here, but it's an easy mistake to do. So make sure it's the right way up so the print matches. There's a different scheme underneath. In this case of same process, apply the glue, butt the two halves together, hold it flat, let it dry. And again, I've used foil rather than wax paper. Okay, so the next part was to split the fuselage in half. We should just do by literally just popping it off. It's only attached by a few pieces. Take the bottom half of the fuselage, turn the wing section upside down, and then attach it to it, just by using some thick CA again. And then we use this jig to make sure that the fuselage is at a right angle to the wing, which is a nice touch. So while that's drying, we then move on to the undercarriage parts, which are all laid out here. Okay guys, so I'm partway through doing this undercarriage here. I just thought I'd show you a little tip. So I've glued the two parts in as instructed in the instructions. However, it looks a little bit messy, especially where the kicker has made the sino go white. So what I'm going to do is just put a bit of heat shrink around it, just tied it up. Okay, yeah, I've still got a white piece on the end there, but it tidies the other connections up, the other joint up, and gives it a little bit more strength as well. And that tip is actually in the instructions. And there's the undercarriage made up and on the airframe. Now that was fiddly, okay? I'm pretty pleased how it come up, but just actually getting these rods through this hole and locked into the corresponding section here, which obviously you glue these on first, these pieces and these here, and also making sure it's square was a little bit fiddly, but they do provide this jig to make sure this section stays square. It's just squeezing everything through. But it's on, it's okay. A little bit of a shame that the sino's gone white with the kicker that I put on there, but it's fine, it's done. Let's see what's next. And there we go, the undercarriage is on, the wheels are on, and the spats are on as well, and I think they're about the right angle. Probably won't really know until I turn it around, but it looks all about right to me. Everything's glued. So we're now up about halfway through. I think where have we got to? Step 26, 27 we've done, we're on to 28 now. So we are getting there. So with the undercarriage finished off with those sections on there, it's time to move back to the tail. So you put the jig in, and then step 30 just says, time to install the fuselage and wing bracing pieces. Use the jig. Install for this process, the lower part of the fuselage stays 90 degrees. And that's it. So I've got these sections, which I think are the right bits. Let's just see how they go. Okay, so I found out what the thread's for. It's to put around the horn extenders and onto the servo horn. But I don't have any thread. So what I've actually done, if you have a look here, is I've just used a spare servo screw to do the same thing really, to give it extra strength and go straight through. So I'm presuming that's going to be okay. Hopefully okay. If not, I'll have to come back off and put thread in there, but it's on there tight, so it should do the same job. So with that, we then put the horns on for the ailerons. Obviously the servos are in as well, and then the horn on for elevator. And then we should now be able to start connecting things up. Okay, so we're making some good progress. We now have the elevator connected up with the rod going all the way through, and the elevator servo just poking through the top here, which is underneath. Ailerons are already done. I think you saw that earlier on. I did make a mistake. So the mistake I made was not using the cotton round the horns. For some reason I thought I could put a screw through, and time the other screw went through, it'd be fine. But of course the servo screw itself doesn't touch that part of the horn, the black part, so you do need to put the cotton round. So I've always pop those off quickly, put the cotton back round, super glue across the cotton. Don't really like the finish of that, to tell you the truth, but it doesn't really matter. So all the horns are done the same way now. So next step is to actually get the plane really looking like a plane and glue this top section on. Then I think after that we've probably got a bit more rigging to do, and then we can install the motor. And there we go, the top section is now glued on. It's looking pretty cool. I used the jig again to try and keep it as square as possible while gluing. There is still some flex in there, I'm sure there's going to be some supports on there shortly, but it's looking pretty smart. Okay, so we're pretty much on the home straight now. So I've gone ahead and put the other deflectors on, top and bottom. And I don't think the motor was on last time around. I have had a break in between doing this build. It's been a couple of days. But I think the next step really is just to put the ESC on, mount the battery, connect up all these wires and set up the control throws. I'll go ahead and do that and then show you. Okay, already finished, done. That's one of those builds that I thought was going to take a couple of hours and took because it'd be longer. Probably 3 times the length because I was filming it, but regardless, it's ready to go test fly, which is what we're about to do in a minute. But before we do that, let me show you around the model and have a look at the install and just pass on a few comments as well. You know, I pointed out already I did use the cotton on the heads, but they're all okay. Everything's kind of gone together quite nicely there. I've currently got the adapter on for the 4D prop, but I've not got the 4D prop on there at the moment, so I do know that. I'll probably change that back to the regular adapter with the band around it before I go and try this indoors, just to save the prop. Let's flip the model over. Underneath is a bit of a cabling nightmare. It is difficult to hide the cables away. And this is probably about as tidy as I can bother to get it at the moment. I've used these cable tidies with just a little bit of hot glue behind them. And I've just noticed one's already come unstuck there. So I have to redo that, maybe a little bit more hot glue. Standard receiver in there, I've just used a Futaba R2008 SB, which should be more adequate for that. And I've just used heat shrink to thread the aerial through here, which is a normal little trick that I do. Again, with hot glue behind it so those aerials can come back out. So that's about as tight as I can get that side. ESC, it is meant to have a bit of Velcro going through it. I didn't notice that, and I've just hot glued it. It'll be fine. If it comes off, I'll put the Velcro back through it. And then batteries on this side. So I've worked out the CFG, the battery should be about there. So I'm using a Genesys Soaring 1000 milliamp pack, which is a high-end pack for this, 3S of course. And that's roughly where I'm going to have it on this pencil line here that I've just added there. And the CFG balances, actually they measure CFG from the nose, which is a bit odd, but it balances back here, just where that mark is, which is in the manual as 240 millimeters from the nose of the aircraft, not from the motor. And then for the control surfaces, I'll just show you what I've set up. So we start off with the transmitter setup. I've done my normal setup, and that is basically with the dual rate, or condition, sorry, flight condition.
3D rates on, 3D rates off.
Between 3D and normal. So if I just show you in AFR, so I basically just knocked everything down to 50% across aileron, rudder and elevator with 20% expo. Then going into the 3D condition, increased the expo to 45 and gone up to 100 on there as well. Now the only addition to that is on the rudder, I've mixed in a dual rate switch here. So if I'm in low rates, I can always get full rudder by overriding it with the dual rate, and that just gives me the full movement on the rudder, regardless of what condition I'm in.
3D rates on, 3D rates off.
If you guys are interested in that setup, I will be filming that shortly and be putting the configuration of that onto my YouTube channel within the next week or so.
Rudder low.
So if we look at how that is on the model, starting off with normal condition, there's the ailerons, elevator, rudder on low rate, here's that dual rate.
Rudder high.
Overriding it, so you see I'm still low ailerons and elevator,
Rudder low.
I just override.
Rudder high. Rudder low.
And then for my condition,
3D rates on.
it's now 3D.
3D rates off. 3D rates on.
The elevator's at the absolute limits. Might be able to get a little bit more on the ailerons, but I'll try it how it is at the moment. Don't want to strain the servos. Yeah, I'm happy with that. She's ready to go. And I've also set up a throttle cut as well.
Armed. Disarmed.
Okay, so the one thing I don't like, which I'll show you at the moment, is I don't like how the battery is. So I've got this big chunky, is that an XT60? Yeah, it's got this big chunky XT60 connector, which does need resoldering down here. The heat shrink's not gone on properly, so I'm going to redo that. But I might change that connector to something smaller. Depends on what I can get away with on the battery side, really. I probably should have bought batteries with a smaller connector on there. No, it's not really an issue. I'll probably find a way of just securing that somewhere, clipping it in, maybe put a 3D printed clip on. But it's just really an observation. So I've got to redo that, and then we can go flying. But overall, I'm pretty pleased with the build. Okay guys, so we're all ready for the maiden flight. So this is the very first time that I've flown indoors. It's very echoey in here, so hopefully the sound's coming out okay. A little bit nervous because obviously there's walls and a ceiling and of course a floor to hit. But I'll do what I can. I've filmed with myself today, but I've got a camera in the middle. I'm gonna wear a camera as well. I'm gonna leave this camera running as well to hopefully catch enough action. So let's get this model flown and I'll let you know what I think as I'm flying it. Okay, so we're ready to go. I've not flown this before. Right now, I'm not sure whether just to hand launch it, take it off from the ground. I don't know. I think I'm just gonna try taking it off the ground and we'll see what happens. Let's go down the length of the hall. Low rates. Okay, so I clearly need high rates because I couldn't turn it then. Full aileron movement and no turning. Let's try again. Okay, so it's really weird because you have to turn with the rudder and the ailerons as well. Better on 3D rate, so I'm not really using full movement. It's just so surprising. Where are you guys? It's just so surprising that it doesn't turn very well.
Minutes.
Right, just calm it down a bit, calm it down a bit. Going a bit better this time. But how do people do this? This is definitely a different discipline, different side to the hobby that I've not done before. A try a roll? I don't know.
2 minutes.
I'm so glad I'm down here by myself. Whoa, wall sneaks up pretty quick. And I was probably in the air for about a minute then, and it's just totally different to anything I've done before. Let me try and explain it. So a lot of rudder, just a lot of turning on the rudder and keeping the wings flat at the moment for me. Throttles just feels like it's really, really sensitive being indoors. And the walls creep up very, very quick, which is quite surprising. So I'm gonna keep going. I'll keep the camera rolling. It's just about practice really, isn't it? Let's keep it up. Right. Oh, first roll indoors. Whoa. That was my first roll indoors. My heart is racing.
20 seconds.
Right, let's try a landing. Oh, this is hilarious. My heart is absolutely beating fast, especially doing that roll, because like, right, I'm going to do a roll, line yourself up, do a roll, then all of a sudden you realise, quick, you got to turn, you got to turn around before you hit the wall. So that's a lot of fun. So first flight, that was just 3 minutes. I'm going to check the battery, get it charged up and keep it going. So we're on 53%. It's just an 1100 pack that I've got in there. So I'll keep going for another minute and then we'll swap bats.
Nine.
Okay, so let's try again.
One minute.
Oh, oh. I won't lie, I don't know if you guys saw that, but I got confused then. I was doing some rolls, I thought I'd do a rolling circuit, got confused, lost airspeed and just planted it on the wall. The taking off is weird because sometimes you just don't actually take off. I think power for takeoff and lots of elevator. If you guys already fly indoors, you got some tips, please put them in the comments down below. Tip 1, get a bigger haul. It's almost flying like it's tail heavy as well. Whoa.
Minutes.
Oh, whoa, 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 turn, left rudder, left rudder. All this space and I hit the camera. This is just, guys, I'm just having so much fun with this. It's just completely different. And I'm not very good at it at all. So it's just learning. It's great. Right, let's try to get a better takeoff.
dying to try a stall turn. I'm worried about pulling out of it. Or rolling circuit perhaps, a bit ambitious. Oh. I've almost hit the wall so many times. That was going so well. So it feels like it's actually easier to prop hang inside. Something I'm not very good outside, probably still not very good inside, to be honest with you, but it just feels a lot easier. Maybe the model, or maybe the setup, maybe the fact there's no wind, I don't know, it's just different. So right, I'm going to try and get a little bit more ambitious now. I've done a few rolls, I've done a little bit of prop hang. Let's try that stall turn. We didn't get to try the stall turn because I just decked it into the ground and plastic shot off everywhere. So let's assess the damage. Okay guys, so that was my first attempt at indoor flying, and I definitely need a lot more practice. I mean, in fairness, I managed 2 flights or 1.5. It was a lot of fun. Very, very different, keeping the model in the air in between 4 walls and a ceiling. Tended to fly the model very low all the time because just worried about the ceiling, but I guess that's just a case of practice and getting used to it. And I got a little bit carried away. Didn't get to try my stall turn, but did end up nosing the model into the deck. And all it's done, in fairness, is just popped out the engine mount, snapped it very slightly in here so I can re-glue that, and broken the propeller. So I could potentially fix this now, but I think what I'm going to go and do is just finish this video here, get this fixed up back at home, rent the hall back out, get some tips from some friends, and then come back and do another video. So guys, please put your comments down below if you've got any tips for me. If you're new to it yourself and you just want to have a go of it, or whether you're already a pro, or definitely a lot better than me anyway, wouldn't take much. Give me some tips, let me know your feedback, and then we'll come give it another go. But right now, I'm absolutely buzzing. It was a lot of fun, something completely different, and of course, you can do it while it's raining. See you next time around.